The courtroom was cold as ice, but the tension in the air was on fire. Every corner of the room seemed electrified, like the walls knew something historic was on the verge of erupting. The soft buzz of the air conditioner was overcome by the agitated energy of dozens of people with their breath held, anticipating the storm to erupt. All the seats were occupied. The gallery was filled with journalists, inquisitive faces, and quiet observers who had been following this family saga for years. Camera shutters flashed their lights into the room like lightning. It was no ordinary trial. This was the trial of a lifetime that everyone was waiting for. At the center of it all sat Robyn Brown, pale, wordless, and visibly trembling. Her hands nervously fidgeted with the hem of her black blazer, and a stray lock of hair continued to fall over her face. She no longer bothered pushing it behind her ear. Her thoughts were long gone from this room, racing back over every choice, every signature, every hushed secret that had brought her to this moment. On the attorney's table in front of her, a single brown envelope rested, plain, everyday. But stamped on the front in big black letters were two words that curled Robyn's stomach. Confidential file. The judge, a stern-faced man with years of experience and a voice that carried authority, raised an eyebrow as he noticed the envelope. It sat there like a bomb, silent but dangerous, waiting for someone to light the fuse. The bailiff stepped forward, his heavy boots echoing across the courtroom floor. "Bring the file forward," the judge ordered calmly. But even his calm carried weight. A murmur of whispers went immediately through the courtroom. The audience leaned forward in anticipation. Even those at the back sat up straight, not wanting to miss a word of what was to happen. Kody Brown, normally full of himself, sat rigid in his chair. His jaw clenched, and his eyes tracked the envelope like a man observing his destiny being swept away. His hands, normally so active, remained flat on the table, still. For once he didn't resemble the man in charge. Behind him were Kody Brown, Meri Brown and Janelle Brown. The three women, former wives, former sisters in a world of shared polygamy, huddled close together. They didn't whisper loudly, only hushed tones that held fear, confusion, and perhaps a hint of satisfaction. They had survived years of turmoil, years of Robyn being the boss, the one Kody forever defended. Now the dynamics in that courtroom were shifting. Robyn reminded herself to breathe. She rigidified her back, but her legs felt like rocks. Each throb of her heart clanged in her head like a drum. "This can't be happening," she said to herself. They weren't going to discover it. But she knew better deep down. She had worked for years constructing this wall of secrets, and walls do have a tendency to crack. The judge's gavel came down lightly, not a full blow, but hard enough to silence the mutterings. "Ladies and gentlemen," he declared, deep, calm voice, "we will continue." The lawyer stepped forward. He was a man of precision, never one to waste a word. He moved slowly, deliberately towards the envelope. His fingers brushed across its rough skin, and he held it aloft for all to view. The word confidential glinted in the light, stark and clean. "This," the lawyer declared, his pause dramatic, "is the file that turns it all around." Robyn's breath locked. Her fingers curled into her palms beneath the table. She ached to scream, to grab at the envelope and incinerate it before anyone could know what was within it. But she couldn't move. Her power, the subtle behind-the-scenes power she'd wielded for years, was melting away through her fingers like sand. The bailiff set the file down softly, onto the judge's bench. The thud was greater than it should have been, like a last warning before a blast. "Proceed," the judge indicated with a nod. The lawyer drew out the envelope gradually, his action calculated as if each second was intended to create tension in the air. The tearing paper sounded like thunder within Robyn's mind. A handful of pages fell out, smooth, clean, deadly. Kody's throat constricted. He sat back a little, arms folded, but his knuckles whitened as he clutched his sleeve. He had hoped this day would never arrive. He had reassured himself the secrets were deep enough. But secrets have a way of scratching their way out. Kody's eyes tracked every gesture of the attorney's hands. She had suspected for years. She had sensed, deep in her bones, that there was more to Robyn's tale than anyone would dare to accept. And now, she might just get to see it. Meri leaned over and whispered something to Janelle. Janelle said nothing. Her eyes were riveted to the file, unblinking, as if it contained solutions to questions she'd carried for far too long. The lawyer laid out the documents neatly on the desk, smoothing them out, and then, in a heavy, measured tone, but one that was calm, he spoke. Years ago, this file was secreted away. Only certain people knew its contents. But today, its reality will be heard in this court. The words made Robyn's spine tingle. She pinched her eyes shut for an instant, hoping this was all a dream. When she opened them again, the judge was staring at her intently, as if already knowing she was guilty. Ladies and gentlemen, the lawyer went on, what I am holding in my hand is not rumor, not hearsay, not conjecture. These are signed, notarized, legal documents. They relate a narrative that involves every individual sitting in this courtroom today. The crowd moved once more. Journalists set their cameras. A few sat forward ready with notebooks. Everyone wanted the headline. Everyone wanted the truth. Robyn's breathing was more labored. Each word was like a sledgehammer to her chest. She looked at Kody, begging him with her eyes. But Kody didn't look back at her. His eyes were fixed on the documents. Like a man seeing his carefully crafted kingdom begin to break down. This changes everything. Those last words were like a bombshell. The courtroom fell silent, as the frozen air hung heavy with expectation. The judge sat back, fingers steepled in front of him. He'd presided over hundreds of trials, thousands of deceptions, and countless ripped-apart families. But there was something unique about this trial. It wasn't merely about law. It was about control, betrayal, and the potential of secrets. The lawyer put the front page on the podium. Even from the gallery, one could see the large title. Christine's heart missed a beat when she attempted to read it from where she was. Robyn had no doubt what document it was. Her heart stopped. Her hands turned icy. She could hear echoes of the past. The night she signed it, the lawyer's hushed whispers, the vows she made to Kody, the lies she told herself to justify it all. She thought she was saving her future. She thought no one would ever discover it. But secrets always find their way into the light. The judge's voice rang out over the silence. Mrs. Brown, he addressed her. His eyes settled on Robyn. You appear troubled. Is there something regarding this file that bothers you? It was an innocuous question, but it cut through the space like a knife. All the cameras in the room swiveled to face Robyn. Christine turned to gaze at her. Meri inclined her head by a fraction, waiting. Janelle's expression remained blank. But her eyes blazed. Robyn opened her mouth, but nothing emerged. Her throat was parched. Her voice had betrayed her. I don't, she made out, but her words fell away into nothingness. I'll take that for a yes, said the attorney, his tone smooth as honey, because Mrs. Brown knows very well what's in here. A collective gasp spread through the gallery. The noise wasn't loud, but it was unison. It seemed the room itself drew close to its chest. Robyn's hands shook in her lap. She felt every eye on her. Years of tightly crafted image, the gentle voice, the crying, the loyalty, the victim's story, were disintegrating under the pressure of a single envelope. Kody finally looked at her. His eyes were not warm. They were not protective. They were cold, hollow, like he was finally viewing her without the lens of love and loyalty. That was when Robyn realized. She was alone. The judge nodded to the lawyer. Go on, he said again, his voice steady. The lawyer put his finger on the first line of the paper and breathed deeply. This document exposes things that were never supposed to be seen. It will display contracts, signatures, and secrets that affect not just Robyn Brown, but absolutely every individual touched by her. Robyn gulped. She could hear Christine mutter something biting to Meri. Janelle stood stiffly, her face impassive. The atmosphere thickened. The whole room seemed to be leaning in toward that one piece of paper. The lawyer glanced up, eyeing the courtroom. Once these words are spoken, he murmured, there's no going back. And then he started to read. Robyn closed her eyes for one brief second, but the tone of his voice pulled her right back in. There was no turning back now. The secret she built her life on was going to destroy it. The lawyer's tone sliced the silence as sharply as a knife. Each syllable reverberated off the courtroom walls, filling the air with weight each second. This file, he started, holding the first page between his fingertips, holds secret legal deals signed by Robyn Brown. Deals that altered the dynamics within the Brown family, without anyone being aware. The gallery exploded in soft gasps and hushed whispers. It wasn't pandemonium. Not yet, but the tension was mounting, like the growl before thunder. Cameras snapped quickly, as reporters strained forward, hoping to get every word. Even those in the back pews could sense it. This wasn't going to be another day in court. This was betrayal. Betrayal on a deep personal level. Robyn's fists were clenched so hard, her knuckles whitened. Her pulse thudded so loudly in her ears, she could hardly hear the attorney at first. She didn't need to. She already knew what was printed out on those pages. She'd signed every line. She'd plotted every word. And now, it was out. Kody Brown moved uncomfortably in his seat, his jaw clenching, face muscles rigid. His eyes didn't even blink as he looked at the paper. This was the portion he had always dreaded. Not for himself, but for the fantasy he had been working on for years. A family together, a narrative dictated, but falsehoods do not remain entombed forever. To his back, Christine Brown huddled beside Janelle Brown. "I knew it," Christine breathed, her tone low and lashing. "I told you something wasn't right." Janelle's gaze stayed on the lawyer. She did not change, but her fingers tapped against the wood of the bench in a slow, contained rhythm, the minute-controlled movements of someone attempting to hold back years of anger. Beside them, Meri Brown folded her arms. She didn't comment, but her mouth corners were tense. She had suffered more than everyone realized, quietly observing the family dynamic skew more and more in Robyn's direction year after year. And now the rest of the world was watching what she already knew. The lawyer held the first page up higher. "Page 1, he declared, is a contract written more than 10 years ago, soon after Mrs. Brown formally married Mr. Brown. It reads, and I quote, 'Any joint property bought by the family will, in the event of legal challenges, be under my name and control.'" There was a collective gasp that filled the room. The words echoed through the room, precise and loud. Robyn stiffened, her throat constricted. The recollection of signing that very paper jumped into her mind. The warm lamplight of the lawyer's office, Kody's hand holding hers, his voice whispering, "This is just a formality, Robyn. It's for security. No one needs to know." It had seemed innocent then. It didn't seem so now. Christine's face grew hot red. She spun on Janelle, her anger quivering in her voice. "Everything she took. She orchestrated this." Christine quiet. Janelle whispered, but her own voice trembled with emotion. The judge struck the gavel once. "Order in the court," he asserted. The room was quiet once more, but the noise of emotion was deafening. The attorney set the first sheet down and picked up the second carefully. "Page 2, he told them, troubles me more. It states a private custody agreement, one that grants Robyn Brown legal authority over certain choices related to the other children in the household." Even the judge raised an eyebrow over that. Custody agreements in polygamous households were notoriously complicated, but this had nothing to do with shared sense. This had to do with control. Kody's head dipped slightly. He said nothing. He didn't come to her defense. And that silence spoke volumes more than any words ever could. She did what? Meri finally breathed, disbelief slicing through her words. The attorney didn't hesitate. He read from the document straight out. "In the event of family dissolution, primary guardianship and decision-making authority will rest with Mrs. Robyn Brown, superseding any informal agreements between parties." The courtroom exploded. Reporters murmured. One of the men in the gallery shook his head slowly. Christine jumped to her feet without thinking. "You lied to all of us," she screamed. "You lied for years." Robyn's lips quivered. She glared at Christine, not stubbornly, not haughtily, but like a person trapped in their own web. The judge's gavel came down again, harder this time. "Mrs. Brown," the judge said sternly, "you will behave in my courtroom." Christine lowered herself slowly into the chair, her body trembling with anger, but her gaze never left Robyn's face. Janelle whispered, I just can't believe she did this to us. Meri closed her eyes. A single tear escaped, tracing down her cheek. Not just from this moment, but from every moment in the past, when she felt like she was no longer part of her own family. The attorney continued, his voice steady, emotionless. These agreements were kept off the public record for years. But now, they're here. And they paint a very different picture of this family's history. Robyn dropped her eyes. The tears began to well in her eyes, but she refused to brush them away. With every page being read, it was like another strip of carefully built image being stripped away. Then the third document. Page 3, the lawyer said, is the most incriminating of all. The room waited with bated breath. This page, he continued, contains a notarized letter, signed by both Robyn Brown and Kody Brown. It establishes a private financial agreement, ensuring that in the event of legal separation, all major assets would remain in Robyn's name or under her control. No, Christine whispered. No, no. Janelle's hand tightened into a fist. Meri's face hardened like stone. Kody closed his eyes. This was when the reality of how deep this went hit every person in the room. This wasn't one document. This was a blueprint, a framework, a plan. Robyn hadn't been shielded or fortunate. She had laid the groundwork to win years before the cracks started to show. The attorney laid the page down so slowly. The sound of the paper hitting the desk echoed like a last nail into a coffin. Mrs. Brown, he addressed Robyn directly. Now do you deny the signing of these contracts? Robyn spoke in a whisper, hardly audible. I did not intend for it to come this far. Do you deny it? He asked more loudly this time. Robyn's eyes brimmed with tears. No, she whispered. I signed them. A collective gasp ran through the courtroom. Christine slammed her hand against the wooden rail in front of her. You betrayed us, she screamed, her voice cracking. All these years, all this time you were acting like one of us. Janelle took Christine's hand to hold her steady, but even she could not suppress the shake in her own frame. The judge hammered the gavel, once more cold and hard. Order. The hubbub in the gallery died again, but every face told the same tale. Betrayal, anger, disbelief. Robyn attempted to talk, but her voice broke. I did what I had to do, to keep myself safe, to keep my kids safe. Christine nodded forward, eyes blazing. No, you did what you had to do, to dominate all the rest. Kody sat silently. Not once did he defend Robyn. The man who had stood like a shield between her and the world, now regarded her as if beholding her anew. The attorney collated the pages, and neatly stacked them. These are not opinions, he reiterated deliberately. They're legal facts, and they've been hidden for far too long. The judge adjusted his glasses, and leaned forward. Mrs. Brown, he spoke softly, his voice serious. Do you comprehend the scope of what these documents signify? Robyn nodded slowly, a tear falling down her face. Then this court, the judge went on, will not regard this as a mere family issue. This entails deceit, hidden contracts, and possible fraud. The reality has been concealed for decades. No longer. The gallery burst once more. Whispers, clicks of cameras, a hum of voices growing like a tempest. Reporters outside were already writing their messages. Inside, the emotional devastation was only just starting. Christine sat frozen, her breathing shaky. Janelle stared straight ahead, her mind spinning with everything she'd just heard. Meri's hands were clenched tightly together in her lap, but her face was unreadable now, calm but dangerously cold. Robyn glared at the table. The documents that had symbolized her strength now seemed like shackles. Each sentence on those pages was a brick in the wall she had constructed. And now that wall was falling down. Kody moved in close to her, his voice a mere whisper. I warned you this day would arrive, he murmured softly. She did not look at him. She could not. For the first time in years, the safety net was gone. The shield, the one to hide behind. The judge rapped the gavel once more. This court will continue, he declared, and we will uncover the truth of this. Every page, every deception, every betrayal. The weight of those words hung suspended in the air, well after the ring of the gavel had faded. And at that instant, Robyn understood. There was no going back any longer. The courtroom itself began to feel smaller, as the clock pounded more and more loudly. Each second pounded like a hammer through the room. The air was charged with tension so heavy, breathing sounded like a roar. The judge leaned forward a fraction, eyes on Robyn Brown. Robyn's hands were shaking on the table. She tried to maintain a calm posture, but her heart was racing so intensely, she felt it in her throat. Moments before, the details from the file had been read out. Names, dates, places. It was everything she had prayed would never come to light. Christine Brown was seated in the second row, with her arms crossed tightly, her jaw set. Meri Brown and Janelle Brown whispering to each other, but their eyes did not leave Robyn's. Even Kody Brown, who had consistently stood up for Robyn, was at a loss for once. The attorney stood in the middle of the courtroom, like a conductor leading an orchestra. "Mrs. Robyn Brown," he started, his voice ringing out clearly. "These records, your records were concealed for more than 10 years. But the truth has a way of rising to the top, doesn't it?" Robyn ground her teeth. She didn't respond. The lawyer walked slowly, grasping the brown envelope as a weapon. "You knew this would happen," he went on. "The deception, the manipulation, the secrets. And now, every single person in this room can see who you truly are." The audience gasped. Christine huddled next to Meri and whispered fiercely, I told you this was not some little thing." Meri nodded rigidly. "But I never thought she'd allow it to come to this." Robyn's attorney attempted to interrupt. "Objection, Your Honor. This isn't a trial by popularity." "Sustained," the judge answered, though his face was impossible to read. But the damage was done. The courtroom was filled with a buzz of whispers. Cameras focused on Robyn's white face. Pencils on reporters' notepads scratched as if a storm were being recorded in real time. The lawyer held up a file sheet. "This signed document, your signature dated more than 12 years ago, indicates that you made a choice that affected this whole family. A choice you've claimed not to have made. But here it is, black and white." Robyn's breath hitched. Her nails cut into the edge of the table. "Mrs. Brown," the judge said slowly, "is that your signature?" Robyn hesitated. For one small second, it seemed as though the whole world had fallen silent. Then, in a very quiet voice, she said, "Yes." The courtroom exploded. Christine emitted a quick laugh, not because anything was funny, but because she was in shock. Janelle placed her hand over her mouth. Kody looked at Robyn as though he had never laid eyes on her before. "How could you?" Christine whispered, rising to her feet. "How could you deceive all of us for so long?" "Order," the judge shouted, slamming the gavel. "Miss Brown, sit down." But Christine didn't give an inch. Her voice shook with years of repressed anguish. "This woman ruined everything we established as a family. And now you're saying this file is the evidence to prove it?" The judge's gavel slammed again. "One more outburst and I'll have this room cleared." Robyn stared at the table, tears slowly rolling down her cheeks. She wanted to explain. She wanted to scream that it wasn't as black and white as they thought. But every word got stuck in her throat. The lawyer wheeled around to Kody. "Mr. Brown," he said quietly, "you have defended your wife numerous times. Are you ready to defend her now, after viewing this?" Kody didn't respond immediately. His fists were locked, knuckles white. The man who had talked with flame was now frozen in place. He stuttered. "I didn't know." Christine released a harsh laugh. "Well, of course you didn't, because she took care of that." Robyn gazed up at him with wide, pleading eyes. "Kody, please," she whispered. "It's not what it appears." But Kody wouldn't look at her. The lawyer strode back toward the bench. "Your Honor, we have reason to believe that this document is merely the tip of the iceberg. There are additional files, additional secrets, which reveal years of deliberate cover-ups." The judge leaned back in his chair. "Then we'll bring them in. Everything comes out today. No more hiding." The weight of those words hit Robyn like a brick. No more hiding. For years she'd convinced herself it was for the good of the family. For years she'd borne it alone, thinking it would protect them all. But now, in the withering glare of the courtroom lights, her carefully constructed barrier of lies was disintegrating before those she loved. She wiped away her tears and compelled herself to lift her chin. "You don't understand," she stated, her voice breaking. "I did it to protect us." Christine leapt to her feet once again. "Protect us? You destroyed us, Robyn." This time the bailiff intervened, cautioning her to sit down. but the words lingered in the air like a curse. The attorney tilted his head. Protect who exactly? Mrs. Brown, yourself, or the man sitting beside you? Kody shifted uncomfortably. Everyone was looking at him now. Robyn's heart sank. This wasn't just about the file anymore. It was about everything: the trust, the years of manipulation, the favoritism, the fractures in the family that never healed. Do you think I wanted this? Robyn snapped abruptly, her tone higher than before. Do you think I meant to hurt anyone? You don't have any idea what it was like. You don't have any idea what I was made to do. The courtroom fell silent. Then tell us, Christine said, her voice trembling. Tell us now, Robyn. Tell the truth for once in your life. Robyn's lip was trembling. She had her mouth open. Before she could say anything, the attorney pulled up another sheet. Or he said icily, shall we have this second file speak for itself? A collective gasp ran through the crowd. There was a second file. Kody's head jerked up. Second file? What second file? The lawyer set it down on the table like a last puzzle piece. The one that ties everything together, he said. The one that establishes who knew the truth all along. Everyone looked at Robyn. She felt her whole world spinning around. Her secrets weren't just spilling out. They were torn from her piece by piece. The second document sat on the lawyer's desk, like a time bomb. Nobody shifted. Nobody even breathed too heavily. All there was the constant click, click, click of a journalist's pen, and the soft hum of the fluorescent lights. Robyn Brown sat paralyzed, staring at that manila folder. She had prayed, begged, hoped that it would never be seen again. But there it was, looming at her like a specter she had hoped was dead and gone. Kody Brown fidgeted in his seat. His voice was low but shaking. Say it, he instructed. What's in that file, Robyn? Robyn couldn't speak. Her lips quivered. The lawyer moved forward cautiously, allowing the drama to linger. Ladies and gentlemen, he began. If the first file showed deception, this second file shows the architect of that deception. The whole courtroom was a flurry of whispers. Christine Brown's eyes went wide as she leaned forward. Meri Brown clenched the edge of the bench, so hard her knuckles whitened. Janelle Brown closed her eyes, ready for the worst. Kody's voice snapped them out of it. Robyn, what did you do? Tears streamed down Robyn's face. She shook her head feebly. Kody, I didn't mean to. But the attorney cut her off. No more secrets, Mrs. Brown. Not today. He put the file in front of the judge. The judge, with a sigh heavy as the day, put on his glasses and opened it with care. The rustle of the paper sounded more thunderous than the storm in that quiet courtroom. The expression on the judge's face changed as he read the opening lines. Surprise, followed by confusion, followed by something much colder. He raised his eyes to Robyn. This is serious, he informed her. Christine leaned in towards Meri. What is it? What is it saying? Meri whispered back. Whatever it is, it's bad. I can feel it. The judge nodded to the attorney. Go on. The lawyer picked up the top paper. These documents indicate Mrs. Robyn Brown wasn't only covering something up. She was secretly collaborating with someone to make legal and financial choices about this family. Way before anybody had a clue what was going on in the background. People gasped a second time. Cameras popped. Christine leaped halfway out of her seat. What? With whom? The lawyer spun slowly, as if he wanted the heaviness of each second to smother the air. Then he enunciated the name sharply. With Kody Brown. Oh. The whole courtroom erupted. No, Kody whispered, shaking his head. That's a lie. That's a lie. But the lawyer held up the signed papers. Joint signatures, financial transactions, sealed agreements. Your name is right there, Mr. Brown. You and Mrs. Brown established a legal trust, one that transferred assets out of the hands of the rest of the family and into her hands. Christine covered her mouth with her hands, gasping. Meri's eyes brimmed with tears. Janelle shook her head in a... Robyn hid her face in her hands. I didn't want it to end this way, she whispered. Kody batted his hand against the table. I didn't know this would end up here. This was not supposed to be made public. Christine gave him a glare as sharp as a knife. You knew. Her voice broke. All these years, you led me to think that we were even. You led us to think that the family was all that mattered. But the entire time, You were giving it all to her. Christine, Kody attempted to say. But she interrupted him. No, she cried, sobbing. You let us fight. You let us cry. You let us beg for leftovers while she received everything. You knew what you were doing perfectly. The judge slammed his gavel. Order in the court. There was no order. Years of suppressed pain had just exploded like a bomb. The lawyer put the next page on the projector. Behind the judge on the screen was a scanned copy of the legal trust agreement. Robyn's and Kody's signatures were black at the bottom. Janelle whispered, "It's real." Christine slumped back into her seat, her head shaking. All this time, I thought she was the problem, but it was both of them. Robyn struggled to say it through her tears. It wasn't to hurt you, it was to protect what we created. Christine barked, "No, Robyn. You protected what you created. Not us, never us." Kody hid his face in his hands. For so long he had dominated the story. Always in charge, always the protector, the man who held the family together. But now, in the blistering glare of the courtroom, the truth was shredding his carefully constructed disguise. The lawyer went on, steady and unflinching like a surgeon. This trust was hidden from the rest of the family. Money, property, rights, all rechanneled. And while everyone else thought that they had a say, in fact, they had nothing. The audience erupted into a tempest of gasps and whispers. Even the reporters were stunned. Robyn gazed up at Christine, words shaking. "I promise, I believed it was best. I believed if the family ever did break apart, at least somebody would keep things safe." Christine's face contorted in anguish. "Safe? You excluded us? You locked us out of our own lives. You made us strangers in our own home." Tears ran down Janelle's face now. "I trusted you both," she whispered. "I trusted you." Kody struggled to stand, shouting, "I was trying to protect my family." The judge's gavel crashed down once more. "Mr. Brown, calm down." But Kody didn't let up. He faced Christine, faced Meri, faced the ones he had previously referred to as his family. "You don't know what it's like to bear the burden of it all. You don't know what it's like to make decisions that no one else could make." Christine stood up. "No, Kody. What we didn't realize was that all the while we were giving up everything, you were sheltering Robyn. Not us. Never us." The silence that ensued was oppressive. Robyn cried quietly into her hands. Kody slumped his shoulders. Christine stood erect, but she felt as if her heart was splitting in two. Meri gazed blankly at the floor. Janelle cried until she was wiping away tears. The judge addressed them all. "This court is not here to solve your family. But the law doesn't have feelings. It has only truth, and the truth is on the record now." Robyn's attorney whispered in her ear, attempting to plan, but she couldn't hear anything anymore. All she could hear was Christine's voice ringing in her ears. "You locked us out of our own lives." The lawyer set down the last page, the final coffin nail. "This," he announced, "is the transfer clause. It shows that when the family started to break apart, ownership automatically transferred to Mrs. Robyn Brown. That's why she remained silent. That's why she defended the deception." The whole courtroom held its collective breath. Christine whispered, "She plotted for us to be disposable." Meri pressed her hand to her mouth to suppress a sob. Kody's voice broke. I didn't think it was going to end like this." Robyn raised her head, her face smeared with tears. Makeup rubbed away, but her voice firm for the first time. "I didn't mean to hurt anyone. I promise I didn't. But yes, I signed it. I knew what I was doing. I thought it would keep me safe. I thought it would keep us safe." Christine glared at her, anger and anguish commingling in her eyes. "Safe from what, Robyn? From us?" The judge slammed the file shut. "The truth is out, and there will be consequences." As the bailiff moved forward to take the documents, the family remained in stunned silence. Robyn looked down at the table. Kody buried under guilt, and Christine, Meri and Janelle sitting shattered, but no longer blind. This was no longer a courtroom fight. It was the ultimate unveiling of all that had been concealed for years. And for the first time, Robyn Brown understood. There was no turning back. The courtroom was quiet, so quiet that the very air seemed to be alive. The gravity of what had just been said hung in the air like smoke from an explosion. Nobody stirred. Nobody even blinked. Robyn Brown looked down at the wooden table, her tears falling silently onto the papers before her. Next to her, Kody Brown sat rigid, his face colorless, his hands clasped so tightly together his knuckles were white. Chair lengths away, Christine Brown, Meri Brown and Janelle Brown sat like statues, shattered, stunned, but no longer naive. The judge cleared his throat slowly. "This court has reviewed the evidence presented," he said. "The truth is painful, but it cannot be erased. What we've heard today is not just about property and papers. It's about betrayal, trust, and decisions that shattered a family." Every word seemed to cut through the room like a knife. The lawyer moved forward once more, his tone flat but weighted. "Your Honor, this second document confirms it all. Not only were assets redirected in secret from behind the family's back, but the trust was drafted to keep anyone who stood in its way quiet. In a legal sense, Mrs. Robyn Brown and Mr. Kody Brown constructed a fence around themselves and left the rest of the world outside." Robyn winced at the use of the word wall. It was precisely what she had done, constructed a wall around her life, while assuring everyone else she was doing it to shield them. The judge fixed her with a direct gaze. "You, Mrs. Brown, before I proceed, do you have anything to say?" Robyn's breath trembled. She stood up slowly. The whole courtroom swung around to view her. For years she had kept silent, calm, collected, the woman who appeared to always be holding all the cards. Today, however, was different. "I know you all despise me," Robyn whispered, her voice frayed. "And perhaps you should. I have lied. I have kept secrets. I thought if I held the pieces together, the entire thing wouldn't collapse. But the truth is, I was merely attempting to survive." Christine set her jaw. Janelle's eyes welled up with tears. "I never asked for this type of war," Robyn went on. "I just wanted to feel safe. I wanted to feel like if it all went away, I'd still have something. And yes, I made my decisions. I signed the papers. I knew it would hurt if someone were to find out, but I believed I could keep it forever without anyone ever knowing." Her hands trembled as she wiped her face. "I was wrong." The judge's expression softened a bit, but his voice remained firm. "The issue, Mrs. Brown, isn't so much what you did. It's who you left behind when you did it." Christine sprang to her feet. Her voice broke but resonated throughout the courtroom like thunder. "You didn't just leave us behind, Robyn. You betrayed us. All of us. You made our lives a lie. You saw us cry. You saw us shatter. And you kept silent." Robyn's face moved toward her, tears streaming down. "I was afraid. We were all afraid," Christine yelled back, her words ringing off the walls of the courtroom. "But we didn't stab each other in the back, to be safe. You did." The bailiff moved forward, prepared to step in, but the judge raised a hand, letting the confrontation ride. This wasn't only legal, this was personal, and everyone knew that. Kody finally rose. His words were low, fractured. "Enough." Christine faced him, eyes seething with betrayal. "No, Kody, not enough. Because you allowed her to do it. You assisted her." Kody did not deny it. His silence spoke louder than any admission. Meri spoke at last, her voice gentle but shaking. "All those nights, when we questioned you, when we pleaded with you to tell us the truth, and you vowed there were no secrets." Her eyes welled with tears. "You lied to our faces." Janelle slowly shook her head, whispering, "We built it all together, and you just gave it all away." Kody's voice broke. "I was trying to save what was left of us." Christine laughed bitterly through tears. "No, you were saving her." The judge lifted his gavel slowly. "This family is shattered. That much is certain. But this court isn't here to mend hearts. It's here to enforce the law. And according to the law, what Mrs. Robyn Brown and Mr. Kody Brown have done is irrefutable." Robyn had closed her eyes. Kody looked down at the ground. "Based on the evidence," the judge went on, "this trust agreement shall be dissolved. Assets that were transferred without disclosure will be returned to joint ownership. Additional legal action might follow. But today, the secrecy ends." A collective sigh filled the room, half relief, half heartbreak. Christine eased down, her body shaking. She didn't smile. There was no victory here, only the cold truth. Meri grasped Janelle's hand, and for the first time in months, they sat together side by side, bound not by love, but by mutual betrayal. Robyn slumped back into her seat, shaking and quiet. She had struggled so hard to maintain control, and now everything she accomplished was falling down around her. Kody sat stiffly ahead, too late, realizing that the empire he built on deceit had finally collapsed. Then came the twist. The attorney stepped up with a final document. Your Honor, there's something else. A shock wave went through the courtroom once again. The judge arched an eyebrow. Something else? The lawyer laid down a single sheet on the bench. This provision discloses that in the case where the trust is terminated, any remaining authority to make decisions goes back to the original family members. Christine Brown, Meri Brown, and Janelle Brown. Christine's eyes opened wide. Meri gasped. Janelle put her hand over her mouth. Kody whirled to Robyn in horror. You didn't mention this. Robyn's lips quivered. I never thought it would happen. Christine got up slowly, not with anger this time, but with a newfound strength. You thought you could control everything, but you forgot one thing, Robyn. You forgot that we were still here. Robyn ducked her head, crying. The judge nodded. The court sees this provision as legally valid. As of today, authority reverts back to the first family. The courtroom hummed with shocked whispers. Kody sat down, wordless. Robyn's closely guarded world had been destroyed in a day. Christine spoke to the others, her voice gentle but firm. This isn't a win. It's the beginning and the end. Meri squeezed her hand softly. Janelle nodded through tears. Robyn sat by herself. No more lies. No more barriers. Only the ruin of everything she'd attempted to control. The judge slammed his gavel one last time. This hearing is adjourned. As the crowd drifted away, Christine passed by Robyn in silence. Janelle trailed behind her, her face stern yet sorrowful. Meri gave Robyn a long, silent glance, not with contempt, but with something more: disappointment. Kody remained behind, by Robyn's side like a man who had lost his place between sides. Reporters swarmed to the hallway. Cameras clicked. Headlines were being scribbled. But within the courtroom, it was no longer about the headlines. It was about a broken family, due to a secret file. Robyn murmured to herself. It wasn't supposed to end like this, but it had. And this time, there was nobody to save her.